I'm Chris Kane. For the last 11 years I've had the privilege of being involved with the BBC as it moved from an analogue to digital organisation as head of BBC Workplace, and latterly working on the smart value solution for Television Centre. We're living in an enormously challenging times. Our world is changing right in front of our eyes. So the nature of work itself is changing by virtue of a whole raft of challenges. So I guess from my perspective, my thoughts around architecture is, how will designers, architects respond to provide solutions to these massive changes? One of the things I've seen over the last 20 years is a very professional approach to designers coming in and assessing the need. How much space do you need? What sort of specification you need? With little thought given to what sort of organisation will occupy this space. Now, I realise that's a challenge when the brief is to produce a speculative building, but we now have the degree of sophistication brought about by technology and by globalisation for the design community to be better equipped to engage in a much more comprehensive fashion.
My name is Andy Bugg. I'm head of project management and building consultancy at Knight Frank. Organisations and businesses today are evolving far more quickly than they did 30, 40, 50 years ago. And I think what they're finding is that their staff are becoming far more discerning about the environment in which they work. So it's far more important now that they like the working environment, that the location is right, that it works for them from the point of view of getting a good work-life balance. So rather than just being a functional box, it's far more important now that location is properly considered in terms of modes of transport, that the building has been designed in a sustainable way, and that the workplace offers them a good quality of working environment. Very often with workplace projects, a corporate occupier may only undertake a project twice in their career, a significant project, and therefore they need to have their hand held. For an informed client, they don't want the architect to intrude on their business. They want them to take the brief, to interpret it accordingly and design to that brief. The important thing for architects working in a workplace environment to understand is that the workplace is a tool for the business or the organisation that works there, and they need to understand exactly how that business and organisation works in order to add the value.
I'm Despina Katsakakis. I'm an architect by training. I have worked in workplace for over 30 years, and I'm currently an independent consultant working within the Barclays corporate real estate team. One of the big challenges within workplace is defining who the client is, because the client in the traditional architectural relationship is the person that pays you. However, when you're designing a workplace, you have multiple clients, many of whom have a variety of objectives that are often conflicting priorities. So the CEO will have a long-term vision, a strategic focus, and wants to drive innovation. The corporate real estate team will want to drive down costs and deliver a very efficient solution, and the HR directors will want to create something very innovative to attract talent. So the architect's role in that is to begin to articulate the priorities and define a design process that is embracing of all those conflicting elements in order to satisfy all aspects of the client. If we think about the procurement process today, it tends to create separation, and it forces often architects to deal with isolated elements of the building, which at the end of the day does not produce a very effective outcome. So I think one of the roles of the architect and the RIBA would be to challenge that and to look at the value of integrating both inside-out thinking and outside-in thinking, and looking at how we can create a procurement process that actually takes collective responsibility across those elements of the experience. Because we're not creating isolated buildings, we are creating seamless experience from the desk to the city. And that is how work happens, and that's how design should happen.
My name is Kevin Chapman. I'm the UK Head of Offices for Lend-Lease Development in the European region. What we're finding is that tenants have a lot more interest in what's around the building. So the place of work is beyond just when you walk through the front door. It's the cafe, it's the coffee shop next door, they work there, they'll work outside. They may go on walking meetings, so the surrounding streets are relevant. So where you're involved in a larger scale redevelopment, urban regeneration, then the third space, the outdoor space, is that the other piece of the jigsaw that the clients that we work with look to architects to design. For us, the best thing that architects can do to start to add value is to understand the priorities of the occupiers that we're serving. And that is no longer just specific to single pre-lets. What we're finding is that a lot of corporates have the same standards. And you know, the essence of having high productivity within an office building and high levels of pride and happiness would apply in the TMT sector as much as it would apply in banking and media and some other sectors.
So I'm Nigel Oseland. I'm a workplace strategist and a change manager, and I have my own business. It's called Workplace Unlimited. We go into a building and we understand how the occupiers operate, what their business strategy is, what their vision is as a business. And then what we do is we align that with a good brief that we can then ask our architectural colleagues to convert into a physical solution. But actually, I think the architects need to be involved in every step of the process. Otherwise, they're just doing that little piece in the middle. And then it's disjointed. You know, you've got this handover. And we see that with a lot of our industry. You know, we've got base build architects, we've got interior architects, we've got engineers, we've got the project managers. Now, our whole industry is fragmented. And now we have workplace strategists doing the briefing and the POE. And that used to be in the arena of the architects. I think they need to take that back. And we talk about post-occupancy evaluation, but basically we're talking about doing a study of an occupied building. So it actually starts pre-project. And the first thing you can use a good POE methodology for is to help the briefing process. So this is a very cost-effective, simple tool to get some information from the whole building population. You know, we don't have to go and talk to them individually. We can use an online survey, for example, to gather all that information. So that immediately informs the brief. Very cost effectively. It also starts the change management process. So all of a sudden the whole, you know, all the occupants know that there's a project about to happen. So there's excitement and there's some motivation around that, which again will help the architects. And also it gives you a baseline for measurement. And I think that's probably one of the most important bits, because post-project, in this world we live in, we've got to prove we're adding value. So we can only prove we're adding value if we measure it in some way. So if we can measure before and after, we can show, architects can show that they've improved satisfaction, they've improved perceived productivity, they've improved collaboration, interaction. They are improving how the new space supports the business. 6 months, 9 months after the project, we would go back and do the post-project evaluation. And we'd offer that service actually for free, which seems a bit strange. But it paid for itself, because every time we went back, or 9 times out of 10, each time we went back, the occupant not only thanked us for taking an interest, they normally gave us additional work.
I'm Richard Beastall, Principal Director here at TP Bennett, and I lead our workplace team. I think it's very interesting that really design is now in the boardroom. I think everybody is increasingly seeing design as a differentiator. I think the best projects we've ever had are when we deal with a board, with senior people, and they give clear direction and they can imagine what the business could look like. I wouldn't be afraid to build a team with not just architects but with other skills. that translate very well in the workplace arena. So that's bringing together sort of workplace specialists, so people with MBAs in business who might come from a business background, not necessarily just from a design background, but also I think interior designers. I think working alongside architects work extremely well, and I think it's valuing all those people equally within that team structure to get the best results. I think we have to really show leadership in workplace design. I think we can't sit back and let others lead the process. We have the skills, we have the knowledge, we've worked in this industry for a long time. I think we need to show leadership amongst other professionals, we need to show leadership to our clients, and we need to show leadership in the boardroom.